of us recording, so I'm going to click on the record button. Before I hand over to Kabir, I also want to shout out Bernadette. Everyone, if you don't know Bernadette, she was the instigator, the actual creator of the Civil Service International Men's Day event theme. And I'm just trying to hold up the legacy. We all know that, as I said, leadership, role models come in various different forms, guises, and looks. So if you do have a role model and you're lucky to have a role model in your workplace, let them know, because a lot of these people are being role models and never claim that title. So just let them know what they do to inspire you. So I just want to shout out Bernadette, who's been an inspiration to me from the day I met her. Okay, all of that aside, being really clear, couple of sort of housekeeping things. If that's okay, keep your mics on mute, especially when we're showing this video. Also as well, if you feel comfortable during the Q&A, please put your hand up. I will be monitoring the Q&A while Kabir does the questions to the panel. If you don't feel comfortable, put your question in the chat box and I'll read it out on your behalf. So the main thing I want to be really clear, because we are recording this, keep your mics and your cameras off unless you're a panelist or unless I call you up to speak. Is everyone okay with that? I'm going to say yes. Good. Cheryl, I know you're on there and I would love for you to stay, but if that's okay, if you could just turn your camera off, but I will definitely bring you in if possible as soon as we can, straight after the camera. Thank you. So we are only waiting for one other panelist, but he'll probably join during the film. I'm now going to stop talking. Oh no, he's here. He was here. He's gone. Yes. Thank you, brother. Hey,
please carry on.
No, thank you. All right, sir. I'm now going to pass over to not only a work friend, but also a family friend, and I'm talking a real friend in real life. I've known Kabir for Kabir, don't let me have to show the white hair, but at least what, over 11 years?
Yes, it's been a long time.
Been a long time. And I want to be as honest as I can to everyone who's here. Kabir leads everything with his heart on his sleeve. And I think when he approached Bernadette and I with this idea of creating this film, I knew straight away that it was going to be amazing. Bernadette was also as well on board. She was the one who also as well helped Kabir find some of these great panelists and also as well co-signed what we were trying to do. So if that's okay, I'm going to do the electric virtual round of applause. I want to bring up the one and only Kabir, producer extraordinaire, videographer, man with the hat. Kabir, I'm handing over to you, sir.
Justin, thank you so much. Listen, guys, I'm not very good with words and speaking. I know we've got a very short time, so I'm going to get straight down and launch the video. And then obviously we'll chat once the video is finished.
Hi, my name is Clayton Smith and I am a Deputy Director in the Cabinet Office for Digital Change and Delivery. I've been in the civil service now for 16 years.
Hi, I'm Member Daughter After. I've been a civil servant for coming up to 20 years. I'm a grade 7 at the Department for Education.
Hi, so my name's Godfrey Atwani Jr. and I currently work at the at HMRC. And I'm currently a grade 7 and my directorate is the HMRC Strategies Directorate.
Hi everyone, I'm Shaheem Ahmed. I work in the Cabinet Office as a grade 6 on EU exit work. I've worked in the civil service now for 12 years, so it's been quite a while.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Daniel. I'm an economic advisor at the Food Standards Agency, grade 7. I've been with the civil service for over 15 years.
Hi, my name is Kabir Ahmed. I am a grade 6 team leader in the Home Office. I'm currently on loan to the Foreign Office, Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office. Been a civil servant for about 20 years now.
Hi, my name is Justin Placid. I am a grade 6 based in the Department for Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy. I'm also as well a co-chair of the Faith and Minority Ethnic Network and also as well co-chair of the Civil Service Race Forum.
Hi, I'm Chandra Jasanaika and I've been in the civil service now for just under 20 years and I'm currently a director in the Ministry for Housing, Communities and Local Government.
My name is Junior Johnson. I work at the Ministry of Justice. I'm a senior civil servant and I've been in the civil service for over 30 years.
I've been in the civil service now for 16 years. I joined as an executive officer, and I've currently been a pay band 1 now for 3 years.
I started in the department in 2002 as an AO, 18-year-old, fresh-faced, and ended up a grade 7 in 2017. So roughly took about 15 years to get there. The journey was quite long and quite difficult. So it started off doing loads of admin roles before moving on to private office, which was quite a sort of significant milestone. So I think I took the leap then where I didn't have any sort of existing colleagues or friends that had done private office. I was so glad I did it because within that environment, I was surrounded by a totally different cohort of individuals. I had a team leader who was so super motivated. I was working to a minister who was incredibly articulate, knew the business inside out. So you had to be on top of your game. And then within that small sub team, within that private office team, you had a group of EOs and HEOs who were super motivated, so super driven and super sort of keen to sort of progress. And a lot of that ends up sort of rubbing off on you. I did it for sort of 18 months. And by the end of that 18 months, I felt like a completely different person.
Started as a SEO within BASE, the Business, Energy, Industrial Strategy Department. Then most recently, I've managed to get my permanent grade 7 in HMRC as a senior strategy advisor.
Hi, so I started in the civil service in 2009, so quite a few years, just over a decade. I started off as an admin officer. I worked my way up a few levels to HO/SEO level, I'd say. It was then quite a challenge to get to grade 7 level, and there are a number of techniques and things that I did in order to sort of reach the higher grades, if you like. But yes, it was certainly sort of an experience of sort of growing my skill set first.
When I joined the civil service, which was around possibly late of 2003, I joined as the Home Office as a research officer, which is equivalent to an EO grade. And through that journey, it probably took me around 6-7 years to reach the grade 7 level, which I currently am at.
I've been in the civil service now for over 20 years. I did a law degree at university, went to law school, and that provided me with an opening to, in my first job really as a civil servant, which was in the Immigration and Tribunal Advocacy Unit. So I was a presenting officer. I used to work in immigration. Worked on counter-terrorism for most of my career in the Home Office, and really from there I went on to my current role as a grade 6 in the policy environment, and I've just tried to do as many different jobs as possible, jobs that interested me, keeping an eye on trying to get career progression as well.
I've been in the department for BASE, so that's Business, Energy and Industrial Strategy, for just over 5 years. But my civil service career has been roughly about 13 years. As mentioned, I'm currently a grade 6. It's probably taken me around 12 years to get to my current position. Started off as a temp, and as they say, well, as Drake says, I started from the bottom and now I'm here, and I've just tried to really continue to work my way up, whether from EO to HEO, SEO to grade 7, and then grade 7 to grade 6. And I've done that by always trying to do roles that are going to challenge me, and also as well doing roles that I think is going to help expand my experience in the civil service. So whether it's policy, communications, operational delivery, these are the kind of things that I think have just really helped round me out as a civil servant.
So I actually started in the public sector as an AA many years ago, and then I rejoined the civil service as an EO, and potted around as an EO and an HEO for about 10 years. And then about 10 years ago, I decided to really focus on my career and build a career in the civil service moving forward. And it took me 10 years to slowly progress to where I am currently, having been an HEO.
I joined the civil service as an admin assistant. I joined the Office of Population Censuses and Surveys around 1991, so quite a while ago. I've had a varied journey to the senior civil service. I've done a number of roles ranging from benefits processor to managing teams and overpayments, for example, through to managing large operational teams, which have involved managing teams in the region of 1,000 to 8,000 people. I've managed large projects and programs during my journey. My first senior civil service role was managing the contracted out employment work programs in DWP, Department for Work and Pensions, that is, where I was responsible for a program of £1 billion expenditure per annum and turning that contract around to make it work as it was failing. I've also spent some time at number 10 Downing Street in the policy unit there, working on the social mobility white paper, where over a period of about 9 to 12 months, I worked developing policy areas for how we might get more disadvantaged people from disadvantaged backgrounds into employment. So I've had quite a long and varied career.
Throughout my journey, I've come through significant challenges, actually. I think challenges that are not dissimilar to what I hear consistently throughout the years I've been in the civil service, whether that's applying for roles and being unsuccessful, whether that's a feeling of a tone or an environment where I've been made to feel uncomfortable. Some of you may know me or may not, but for those who not, I've got long dreadlocks. When I started the civil service, these were very short, and I've had comments where I need to cut my dreadlocks in order to progress. I need to speak or act in a certain way. And these are just a few of the challenges that I've not only had to address and face, but overcome throughout this journey so far.
One of the key barriers for me as I sort of progressed to grade 7 was probably sort of personal development and growth, and that was driven primarily by my own sort of limited beliefs, but also by poor line management. So I had loads of poor line managers as a grade HEO, but then I had a run of really good grade 7 line managers, which were brilliant. And one of the things that they put me in touch with was the positive action pathway. So it was a development program for civil servants with protected characteristics. Now, it was like a 6-month program, and again, it was something that I wasn't very keen on doing, just purely because it involved two sorts of. It was almost like doing action learning sets and then like a seminar day as well, where you sort of reflected on what you've learned. And again, it wasn't something that I was very keen on doing, but as soon as I did it, it was brilliant because you were doing things that were completely unrelated to work. They were around what drives you to sort of develop as an individual, but it also opened you up to sort of other colleagues across the civil service. So like you had colleagues in the room that were from the Foreign Office, you had colleagues that were Home Office, and within that group, you certainly saw similar patterns in terms of concerns about progression, and we were able to support each other through those groups, and they were brilliant. That was a really key driver to overcome that development barrier that I certainly had, and not wanting to develop myself further.
Hey, so the obstacles I faced from being a civil servant, I would say, is the first one is understanding the culture. You know, I came from an operations background at Transport for London, and it wasn't in policy. And so I struggled understanding how to write correctly in policy terms. Also, I struggled to, the obstacle I also came across was understanding the culture as well. You know, being a civil servant is different. It's a different way of life. You know, you work for the Queen, you work for ministers. So this was all new to me. So understanding that way of working. I think finally was also just understanding where I kind of fit into the organisation. That was a struggle for me because being a black man, proud from London with my London accent, this was all new to me. And people who I was working with weren't from London, were not black. So I really struggled to gain my kind of place within the organisation as well. So to overcome my struggles and obstacles, I also, I went out and actually got a mentor, someone who I looked up to, someone who could inspire me to keep me on a straight and narrow, to give me those tips and advice for me to progress. I also got heavily involved with the FAME network, which is the race network at BAME. And from that gave me confidence to progress and to actually say, no, I'm not standing for this. And yes, this is a change I'm going to make. And finally, I actually done some training as well to make sure I could build my confidence up, understand the skills that were required for me to progress and do a good job.
So during my career in the civil service, I received a few promotions at the sort of lower grades. Eventually, I got up to SO level, senior executive officer level, and I found it was a fair challenge to get to the grade 7 level from SO. There were very specific skills and experiences and training and qualifications that were needed in the department I was working at the time, at SO level. In order to get to grade 7, I was feeling a little bit like I perhaps wasn't being given enough opportunity, and there wasn't enough of a focus on me as an individual. I therefore took it upon myself to look at sort of mentoring opportunities, shadowing, networking, etc. And I think that paid dividends. I was able to work with a director general, shadow colleagues, get to know individuals at all levels, senior levels in particular, across other departments as part of networking programs that I joined. That then gave me the confidence and the skills to develop myself as an individual. And so I was able to eventually apply for a grade 7 job, which I then successfully managed to go into.
When I just joined the civil service, I did have some issues where I felt that I wasn't really given opportunity to grow and really tap into the skill set that I thought that I had. The obstacle being that I felt I wasn't able to progress was actually a catalyst for me to really go out there, try to build my own networks, engage with people. And that really sort of helped to open up opportunities and doors for me. And I would say a good example I've had most recently is my previous manager, who was incredibly supportive. And at times you felt you were put in the deep end, but really that helped to build confidence, grow. And even before the departure, encouraged me to start thinking about the next level, broadening my horizons, was just incredibly supportive.
Some of the kind of obstacles and barriers that I've come across in my civil service career are, some of them are really from me needing to widen my experience, needing to grow both professionally and personally. And some of the obstacles I face are really kind of, I guess, imposed by others around me or the work environment. So if I start off with the first one about me, first of all, because I think it's always important to take responsibility for one's own career, progression and learning and growth. I really needed to take into account the strengths that I brought into the role. So I've got a legal background. I love debating. I love arguing. I love persuading and influencing. So these are things that really that I have been the bedrock of what I've brought into lots of different roles. But I also understood that I needed to think more harder about how I communicate and diversify my style of communication. That I needed to think about how I can improve my drafting. Drafting a submission is very different from drafting a legal paper, for example. So I had to do that. And I also had to think about how to operate in the civil service, how to engage with ministers, with special advisors, with others, and also how to engage with other government departments. But there are also challenges from outside. So I've had, one or two occasions, very difficult, challenging line managers, and it's about how do I try and work with them? When do I know that actually it's best for me to move on? And when is it actually important for me to see how I can, again, be flexible and adaptable, work with the people around me and get the recognition for what I do? Other barriers that might affect me and have affected me over the years have been around trying to get those opportunities that I think are going to improve my own work and my own career progression, and trying to see how I can influence others to provide those with me. And there are softer skills that I've needed to deploy in networking with people, taking up opportunities to be mentored or to be sponsored to try and get that breakthrough, recognizing, of course, that sometimes there's a game that has to be played for us to be able to succeed in our careers.
I have also as well, like a number of colleagues within the civil service, faced obstacles. And that could come down to something as simple as sometimes just not really getting on well with my line manager, or maybe perception. So maybe certain people thinking that I may not have the skills and qualities to lead on a certain project. But I think also as well, some obstacles that maybe I've put in my own path. So in my early stage of my career, I felt that I didn't really have a career in the civil service. So I focused most on trying to ensure that my outside commitments were the things that were going to keep me motivated. So sometimes I think with regards to obstacles, it can either be internal or external. And I think there's a bit of opportunity to do some self-reflections, some discussions with your coaching to help you try to find out ways that you can actually overcome those obstacles, especially if they're ones that you've already implied on yourself.
So over my career, there's clearly been loads of obstacles at different grades and as me as a person. And with all of them, I've had to think really carefully about what it is that's preventing me from moving forward. Is it something external or is it something internal? And how can I either overcome it or change or go around it to move forward? The best lesson I learned was to get feedback, and then to really think about that feedback, whether it's fair or unfair, and consider how I can change perceptions of people in terms of what they think I can do, knowing full well that I am capable.
So the challenges and obstacles that come with being a senior civil servant and working in senior roles, and many of them varied. And what I would say is most of the jobs, if not all of the jobs at this level, are challenging. So there's just something about your ability to be able to relate to people, relate to circumstances, and relate to ministers that's always going to make it challenging. But the one thing I would say that I found probably most challenging, especially during my middle to earlier career, was self-belief and the importance of not putting self-imposed barriers in the way of the things and the areas and the jobs that you might want to go for.
In terms of words of advice, as I said, the challenges that we all face individually and collectively are not dissimilar. I would say challenge the status quo in a respectful, professional and concise way. Use data to form your arguments and any narratives. And also, I would say persevere. So don't stop. And the famous quote of what the mind can conceive, it can achieve, is what I'd also throw in.
Advice that I would give Black and Asian colleagues or men within the civil service who want to progress are, there's 3 or 4 things that you can do. The first thing is to build a really strong support structure, and that starts with strong line management. Now, if you don't have a strong line manager, I think it is a case of sort of finding a role that probably does have a good line manager in place, or a role that you don't necessarily have to do that same role continuously. You can move on. Nothing's stopping you from moving on and trying something different apart from your own sort of beliefs that you might not be able to do it, which you might surprise yourself in that you can do it. The second aspect that you might want to look at is those key sort of development programs. So I've mentioned I've done Positive Action Pathway, but I think there's new programs like Catapult out there, which I think certainly you should look into. And the other alternative is joining a mentor scheme. So I think most civil service departments have an internal mentor scheme that you can join, or external. I went through that process. I had 2 sets of mentors. One was dreadful because it was just a tick box for them. But then the second mentor I had was outside of the department, and it was brilliant. It worked really, really well in parallel with the development program I was doing at the time. And the third thing is, I suppose, not being scared. Like, I think beating your fears of feeling like you're an imposter or having those self-limiting beliefs and moving forward from that. Those would probably be the main takeaways for me.
So the advice I want to give to my fellow brothers, my Black, Asian and minority ethnic brothers are, firstly, get a mentor, a sponsor, a coach, someone to provide you advice and tips. That person could be a white woman, an Asian man, a black man, a black woman, anyone else who's out there can support you, because that person can give you the advice and tips you need. You know, make sure they're a few grades above you so they can give you the blueprint that they follow to get to where they are. And that really supported me. Secondly, join the network, join the race network, join the BAME network as well, because those people in that group, in that network, are your allies. They are there to help and support you. And finally, pick jobs that make you stretch, pick jobs that make you grow, pick jobs that make you learn. Because the jobs I've done, like being a private secretary to government ministers, really helps me to think like a minister and to make me think next steps and made me took strategic views in all the work I did. So that's my tips I would give to my Black and Asian minority ethnic brothers.
So one of the things that strikes me about the civil service is there's such a wide range of opportunities and such a wide range of sort of policy areas and subject areas which you can work on. So you might be one of those individuals that's quite happy sort of working on one specific policy for a long amount of time. That's all well and good. And I'd say, you know, it's good to sort of build your knowledge and expertise in one particular area. However, you might want to sort of look further afield at other opportunities once in a while. It's always good to network. It's always good to build those relationships, both with not only people within your organization, but across other departments as well. Nowadays, there's a whole range of sort of opportunities to network and get to know people from across multiple departments. So I'd encourage everyone to sort of go out there and see what your department and the wider civil service is doing. So as I say, absolutely, you know, if you're working in one department and you're happy there, there's no reason perhaps to change. But at the same time, it's always good to know what's out there, to build your relationships, get to know people who are working on other policy areas, and, you know, building those relationships will then help you in the future if you are looking to move elsewhere and sort of challenge yourself to do something else. You'll have those contacts from across departments who might sort of be able to sort of direct you towards what's coming up on the horizon.
So advice I will give to Black and Asian men is, first of all, it's really invaluable to be able to have a mentor, a good mentor, somebody who is able to hear your concerns, and at the same time, encourage you to step back and think about the strengths that you have, because too often I think we tend to focus too much on our weaknesses, and that can be a hindrance. But at the same time as well, if you are recognizing those weaknesses, a good mentor would encourage you in terms of how to make those weaknesses strengths. By having opportunities to probably shadowing, I find is an incredibly valuable opportunity as well. And trying to identify networks that work for you. Not all networks are going to work for individuals. It very much depends on more or less what you're looking for in terms of your career progression. But what I found that was most valuable was speaking to individuals that had reached a pinnacle of their career or reached a particular point in their career and you wanted to sort of follow a similar path. And sharing their experience, how they got there, I found was the most beneficial. And also, this is very important, recognizing the kind of manager you have. Are they the kind of manager that is just content for you to stay where you are and not progress? Or are they the ones that are encouraging you to grow? And that's very important to recognize as early as possible.
I would always encourage my colleagues and friends out there to try and be proactive, because there comes a point where, and I faced this in my own career, where I've gone for interviews and the kind of experiences that I'm putting down in terms of application forms and interviews doesn't appear to be getting me the kind of recognition that gets me that next rung up on that career ladder. And so talking to my line manager, talking to others as well, friends and colleagues, about how I can diversify my experiences has, I think, paid off a little bit. And sometimes that is through temporary promotion, but sometimes that's just me thinking about how I can make room in my own diary to do something different and to give me an edge in that next interview and that next application for another opportunity.
The advice I'd give to Black and Asian men who want to succeed in the civil service, or just generally, I suppose the first thing would be to make sure you've got a really clear purpose. So an understanding of what it is that you want to do, and what you think your unique strengths or unique selling points are. So that's the first thing. Have a really clear and strong purpose. Second thing is believe in yourself and be good at what you do. So whatever you do, whatever your chosen field is, make sure that you are good and stand out for delivery. I suppose another thing to think about is make sure you get yourself a career plan or a personal development plan. I think that is really important. And then I think that enables you to legitimise the conversations you can then have with line managers, get yourself a mentor, a coach, or even a sponsor, actually. So I think they're really important that you have people that believe in you and champion your cause and what it is you're doing. So I also think it's important to test yourself and actually put yourself into situations where you're probably going to be outside of your comfort zone. So that alongside lifelong learning and actually trying to get new skills and acquire new opportunities, I think is really important. I think it's really important that you take those risks when those opportunities present themselves. That way you will grow exponentially. And again, it will show that you can deliver things in different environments.
So looking back on my career, if I could give some advice to the younger me when I was at some of the more junior grades, it will be to not just be brilliant at what you do, but also raise your profile in the organisation. And you can do that through various ways, through sponsorship, through mentoring, but more importantly, just putting your hand up and taking on the role that no one else wants to do, quite frankly, and being good at it and putting your whole heart into it and being excellent. And combining that with a really good attitude and confidence, I think takes you a long way.
So some advice and of course some encouragement that I'd like to offer out to my ethnic minority brothers and sisters who are watching this in the civil service, who may at some point in their job, in their career or in their journey, they may feel that they're not really getting to where they want to be. I think it's definitely about self-reflection. Understand actually, where do you really want to go in the civil service? Also as well, a bit of honesty. If you feel that maybe, for example, you're not really getting the support from your line manager, or you may not have a mentoring program in your department or arm's length body or partner organization, start thinking about outside of those areas. So definitely within the Civil Service Race Forum, we've got a mentoring program. I would also as well say is definitely when you're attending these events that are being run by your race network or attending another race network's event, if you hear a speaker that you're quite impressed with, don't be afraid to just send them an email just to say, it'd be really good maybe if I could have a coffee or a tea or hot chocolate, whatever the beverage of your choice is. And get to understand that actually sometimes having a conversation with someone can help just open up your mind. I think the other kind of thing with regards to the encouragement is definitely don't give up. And if that's okay for those who are watching, don't compare yourself to other people. Your journey is your journey. Don't worry about some people who might have the cheat code and, while we're waiting for a bus, they're in an Uber. You take your time, you make the decisions that are right for you, and you listen to the people who really put you at the start of that conversation. They're the kind of things that you need to surround yourself by. Now, I also as well want to be able to say for those people who are probably going through situations, so maybe they've not got that relationship with their line manager or whether they're not comfortable with the work that they're doing, this is where you need to put yourself first. And what I mean by that is that your personal well-being. And once again, I know it's easy to say because I'm in front of the camera, but if a job or if a team or if a line manager is not right for you, you should be thinking about finding a place that is. If people can't appreciate you and the talents and skills that you bring to a role, then don't stay in that role just for the sake of staying there, because it truly will affect you, and also as well, it will stop you on your journey or your path to success.
Additional advice is to use your networks, internal and external. There are many who want to challenge the status quo and make a difference, scattered across government. Use your networks and connect. And also, believe in yourself, because if you don't, nobody else will.
You're on mute.
I'm on mute. I'm back. I'm off mute. Thank you. Look, when I film my part, of course, like all of the other speakers said, we did it in isolation. So actually, to see all of it together. Anyway, I'm going to try not to tear up, and I want to say something before I hand over to Kabir, because I've been really clear. This was Kabir's idea from the onset, and all the Civil Service Race Forum did was either help find speakers or promote this idea, you know, like promote it. So I really want to try to give as much respect and props to Kabir, and also as well the other speakers who shared their time with him and turned up at parks or allowed him to come to their house or met him at a workplace, because once again, we all have busy days, but you saw the value and the benefit of actually being able to share your experience with the 174 whatever plus people who's on here and more. So Kabir, if that's all right, before, because I know you've got questions you want to hand over to the panel, and I know you put some of this at the end of the movie. I'm going to say it's a movie, but why? Like, why now? Because as you said, you've been in the civil service for a while. Why did you choose now to create this masterpiece?
So obviously, as you know, I've been in the civil service for over 20 years, and sadly, I've never seen Black and Asian men progress. You know, over the last few years, you know, you see the emphasis being put on women progressing, people from the LGBTQ plus community progressing, you know, even the social mobility category, people from that group all progressing. And I was getting frustrated. Why are we not talking about Black and Asian men? Now, Justin, it's something you said to me the other night. You know, sometimes you need to do what you got to do and not wait for people to do things for you. And with this video, that is one of those things, because I knew when it comes to Black and Asian men, race, if I was to wait for other people to give me the green light to do this video, I'll be waiting forever. So I decided to create this video, you know, in my own time, you know, and I want to say a massive thank you to you and Bernadette for introducing me, you know, to most of the guys on the video. And obviously I know Abu, his brother, and Ebador, you know, from before and from my private life. So without them guys, you know, massive thank you to them, because without them, this video would not have been possible. But yeah, Justin, that is the reason. And I wanted to create a video because whenever I'm speaking to colleagues, especially Black and Asian men, you know, you hear the disillusionment coming out of their voices, you know, they're feeling frustrated. And I was thinking, well, what can I do to, you know, to make you know, to give some kind of inspiration. So I thought, let me create this video. And the ultimate thing I wanted to come out of this video is when guys are watching it, they're listening to your Godfreys, your Abus, your Juniors, your Claytons, and they're like, you know what? If he can do it, I can do it too. Because in my place, there's not many Black and Asian men that are at, you know, grade 7s and 6s plus. When I came knocking on the Civil Service Race Forum's door, and I've attended some of your meetings, and I've seen the number of Black and Asian men that are at decent grades, I'm like, damn, you know what? We have got a few scattered across the Civil Service, but I've never seen any. So it was like, well, hang on. So there are a few of them that are progressing, but I wanted to put that in a video so those guys that are feeling disillusioned, that are feeling as though, you know what, I don't stand a chance here. I just want them to say, look, these guys can do it. You guys can too. And yeah, and that is the only reason I wanted to do it. Justin?
Sorry, slow to come off mute. Kabir, thank you very much, sir. I know time is going, and I know we want to make sure we're speaking to the speakers and giving them a chance also as well to talk. So I'm going to just hand over, but if I can just say one quick thing. Is it Mirtri? You've had your hand up from the beginning. Did you have a question before I hand over to Kabir?
I need a little bit of time. My question is actually very, very special. So perhaps you push and then when you find a good time, put me in, please.
Okay, so well, if you could just turn off your camera for the time being, and then when you're ready, just message us in the chat box and I'll call you up. Okay, sorry, nothing from me. Gonna hand over to you, Kabir.
Well, okay, so my first question is going to be aimed at Godfrey and Abu. Godfrey first and then Abu. Yeah, so it's right, we know it's International Men's Day tomorrow, and we're exploring the theme of role models. Who is someone that you consider a role model and why are they important to you? Go on, Godfrey.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Kabir. And firstly, just massive congratulations on the video. I absolutely love it. And I wish I'd done it indoors now, actually, but that's thank you. And so for me, a massive role model to me is my older cousin, OS. He's always been there throughout my whole entire life. And he had quite a troubled background as growing up, but I saw that progression from, say, troubled to really good. And now he's got an amazing family, does an amazing job. And I check in with him each month. And I see him as like, you know, a kind of second dad and mentor coach. And he's always speaking positively about himself, his family, his friends, and everyone in his whole life. And I try to live my life like him, basically, and use his life as a blueprint. So hopefully that's answered the question.
No, that's cool. Thank you. Abu.
So a really interesting question. I really thought hard about this, and actually, I don't know if I have a role model as such, but every story or every incidence of someone from a minority background, you know, breaking that glass ceiling is a motivation for me. And so I kind of take widely. The other thing I would say is, and this might be quite controversial, in my career, I've known many managers, whether they're line managers or directors or DGs or whatever. And there are some who, there's one who I'm thinking of in my mind now, who was a right bully. And he's not at all a kind of role model, but there was an approach he took to getting stuff done using numbers and data. And I just thought, you know what, you can actually learn from everybody and anybody. If you just keep your mind open, you can pick up things that you then learn from, and then you adapt your own kind of style, your own way of doing things. So I think it's important to kind of look afar as well as close to people who you may respect or not respect, to learn things and then to progress.
Brilliant, thank you. Right, my next question is to Junior and Clayton. If you were the head of the civil service for one day, what would you do? Go on, Junior, you first.
Are we recording? What would I do? So first and foremost, let me just say, Kabir, brilliant job, really well done. Not only did you get it through me, you managed to make sure the dog that kept coming up behind us didn't bite me in the park. I love meeting your daughter, so thank you, well done.
Thank you.
So what would I do if I was the head of the civil service for one day? So I suppose change doesn't come in one day, right? So I think first and foremost, I would just absorb the opportunity to understand what it is and understand the authority, the power that comes with the role. I think I would take as much opportunity as possible to meet with the people who have influence, to understand their journeys, but also use it as an opportunity for them to understand my journey and the journey of people like me. And I think in one day, I think I would hope to build or start to build the genesis or the catalyst of relationships, because it's what happens beyond the day and the connections you make beyond that first day, I think that really matters, because I don't think genuinely in one day I'm not going to change the world. So I think that would be the thing that I'd focus on.
Thank you.
Let me hand over to Clayton, who was showing off his chest in the video.
Thanks, Junior. Building on that, it was actually the hottest day of the year that Kabir and I chose to film, and yeah, I won't go there, but I'll build on what you said about what I would do. So the first thing I'll do, many people know, I've called it out, and I'll call it out again. I said, as long as I am within the civil service, my ambition is to be the head of the civil service, not just one day, but for a long duration, to change many of the things I know and we all know need to be changed. So I've put that out there. I'm on that journey. What would I do? Similarly, people. So I would get to find out what the issues are among the people as quickly as possible. And the way I'd probably do that is look at the funding for our networks, so plural, the funding for our networks, and how can I find out how people are feeling, how people are doing, what capability, capacity we have across the civil service to deliver what we are being asked to do. I'm people focused, so I would start with the people similar to Junior, and I would go through the networks.
Brilliant, thank you. Justin, do we have any questions on the side panel before I move on to one of my other ones? Just wanted to give people a chance to get their questions.
Yes, yeah. So there was a question around what's the difference between a mentor, sponsor, and coach. So happy for anyone on the panel to take that. We've got just under 4 minutes, so if we can have really succinct answers, but whoever feels comfortable. If not, I can answer it in the chat.
Do you want me to have a quick go? Yep. So a mentor might be someone who might be helping you, give you advice specifically on a particular aspect of your career in that point in time, and helping you navigate through some of the challenges you might have or celebrate the successes you might have. A coach is someone who's there to help improve your performance, and that will be like a mentor relationship, but slightly different and challenging in that it will make you think inwardly about how you can improve your performance over a more sustainable period of time, is what I would say. A sponsor is someone who's there, who's looking out for those opportunities and will be in the room talking about you and your skills and your abilities when those opportunities are being discussed in terms of who's the next grade 6 I need for role A, B, and C. They'll be the ones in the room who are saying, I've got Godfrey in mind, I've got Ahmed in mind, and these are the reasons why. So very succinctly, I hope that helps.
Thank you. I've got I know we're probably not going to have enough time for many questions. I've got one question. Obviously, as you guys progress up the civil service ladder, the demands and the pressures increase. What mechanisms do you have in place to manage your mental health? Let me start with Clayton first, then Godfrey, Abu, then Junior.
I'll go very quickly and say it's mainly my networks. So not just the networks internal, but external. I use my networks, my family are core, a major part of me and what I do outside of work. I'll also say I'm an Arsenal fan. So, so on that note, I need the support more than some others, but I won't go any further there. That's enough from me. Networks, internal and external.
Thank you. Godfrey.
Yeah, that's a great, similar to Clayton, and I'm an Arsenal fan as well, Thierry Henry and Anelka and Ian Wright. But for me, I've downloaded Headspace and I've downloaded a lifetime membership, and that just helps me meditate every morning. And I also love going to the gym. I go to the gym quite a bit. And to be fair, I love having a good time with my friends. So going out, dancing, partying, and that just helps me relax. So let's have a good time and just connect and build connection with my friends outside of work as well. But then as well as the internal networks.
Thank you. Abu?
So I think maybe what served me well in the past may not serve me best in the future. So I'm always thinking about, when that next challenge comes along, how can I tackle it? I think one of the things someone said to me once was try and see if you can balance out your day and your week between doing the duller, more challenging stuff with mixing up with things that you like. So I try and apply that. The other thing is I love football, I love badminton, love table tennis, try and squeeze that in every now and again, just broaden that network of people so you're not always talking about work, not thinking about work all the time. And I've got 2 great kids and a wife, so always want to try and spend as much weekend time with them as well. Thank you. Junior?
So let's just big it up for the Tottenham fans in the place, because we do exist. So like everybody else, I've got 2 boys, I've got a wife, I've got extended family, and they are absolutely critical I also have my faith, my church family, which are absolutely foundation and bedrock of who I am and what I do. So that is really important to me as well. And where I can, I try and look after myself, because if I'm not right physically, I can't be right mentally or create the capacity to get the headspace I need to do my job and my varied jobs, because I talk about my job that I am leader and father at home, my job in where I get paid, and the stuff that I do in the community. So I think it's really important that, you know, I look after myself.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Justin, I'm going to hand it over back to you.
Don't forget, I needed to ask a question, but unfortunately I can't pick the chat space here. So
Mary, if you want to ask your question, just make it really quick, because there's a couple of questions I need to raise in the chat.
Wonderful. Right, I'm seeking sort of clues and answers from you guys here. Firstly, brilliant presentation and brilliant work done there. Excellent. I wish this kind of a forum or a meeting could be done once or twice every year, because people need help out there. My question is, where a performance done poorly, and in any case it's all to do with the very crap kind of management, where you see that happening, and where a warning letter and anything like that is being used deliberately to block and create, you know, the kind of barriers you leaders have been talking about, where you see that happening, what sort of in the end, the employee, the BAME person is stuck in, logged in, no breathing space, what sort of advice would you do? Would you give? And, you know, just to comment on that, please. Otherwise, there is that kind of scenario happening.
Justin, I'll leave that one to you. Justin, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Mary, yeah, sorry, you raised the question. Who would you like to actually answer it? Okay, listen, Mary, please get in contact with me, justin.placid@base.gov.uk, and we can have a conversation. I can provide you with some advice.
Yeah, that's great. Brilliant. Thanks a lot.
If that's okay, I'm just gonna. Okay. Just for the speakers, I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions in succession that I think are really important that came up in the chat. One, which is around what we can do for those people who are not based in London. How can we help them also as well seek opportunities? I don't know if you want to mention about places for growth around some of the hubs that are being created, but I definitely think that that's a really good question. There was another question that was raised with regards to white allies. Now, personally, for me, ally is an ally regardless of the color, but I can understand that person's quote, as in, if you are white and you are mentoring an ethnic minority person, what can you do in that space to help them? And then finally, one of the questions, which I may be able to quickly answer. Actually, just do those ones. I'll answer the other one myself in the chat. So if that's okay, happy for you lot to feel comfortable answering whichever ones you want. But being really clear, what can we do to help those who are outside of London seek opportunities? And then 2, what can we do to help support our white allies who are mentoring ethnic minority staff?
You're mute, Junior.
I was going to say, are you guys okay if I go first? Because I do need to shoot off to another meeting. Is that okay? So I think you've answered the first one around, you mentioned places for growth. And I think that's going to be really important and a key part of the wider levelling up agenda. So there have been some roles that I've seen recently advertised that I would have loved to have gone for, but my wife and my family aren't moving out of the southeast or moving out of London. And I don't think anyone would understand my South London accent up in Edinburgh anyway. So there are opportunities, and there will be more opportunities because of the wider sort of like departmental and government agenda, and they've been really clear about that. So I would definitely look out for those, and there are lots of opportunities I see appearing that are non-London based on civil service jobs, more so than I ever had, because of that wider sort of like strategic push. On the white allies, I would say I think it's our place to actually help them. So one of the things I do in Ministry of Justice is I'm the sponsor of the Proud network, staff network, which I think, Clayton, you used to be the chair of it once upon a time. And if the guys don't mind, I think Frank's on the call, Frank and Monroe, who's the chair of the Proud network. They have developed training for allies and for people who want to actually get involved in I'm really proud actually, excuse the pun, of the work they've done over the last year to get hundreds of allies who have come to join in the work around understanding what we're doing on the race agenda and other areas of disability or LGBT. So there's lots of work that's there and it's available. So don't go reinvent the wheel if it's out there. Just reach out to us and we can get you some of the training products that we've developed. Take care, guys. All the best, and really nice seeing you and meeting you guys.
Cool. So I know people have to go and I know we're slightly over time. So also as well, I want to thank everyone, not only for taking time to be involved in the video, for promoting it and sharing it within your own networks and friends and families, but also as well for taking the time to be able to answer Kabir's questions and some of the questions that we've had in the chat. So just to let all of our audience and the plus 100 people who are still here, I have put the link in the chat. If you do not receive the link, then all you need to do is go onto YouTube and type in Civil Service Race Forum and you'll have access to all of our videos. Please feel free to share the link with as many people as possible. The advice that these speakers have shared on the video, this is stuff that we're trying to do to help you help yourselves. So sometimes I understand you may not have role models in your departments who look, sound, or come from the same place as you, but they are in the civil service, which is why, as Kabir said, we wanted to do this as a video so that you share it with your who may not see these people. Also as well, for wherever you are, Clayton, Godfrey mentioned this, join your race network. There's no point saying, oh, no one can help me, and you're isolated. You're in a team that maybe you don't get on with. You do not get involved with networks. Godfrey made it really clear. You can develop by being in a race network, but even if you don't want to develop, you have people who can help you and support you and listen to you and give you advice. So the main thing is that you don't feel alone. The other thing as well, really simple. As I said, look at these people here. Look at the people on the screen. They also as well want to make change. So if you're one of these people who want to make change, let me be honest, you're not going to be able to make as much change at a junior grade, at an EO, at a HO grade. So have those aspirations, work hard. You're all intelligent. Yeah. Don't let no one ever say that. Probably more of you have probably got more qualifications, professional, educational, than probably your line manager. It might just be confidence. And if it is confidence, once again, look at these people on the screen. They believed in themselves, they surround themselves with people who believe in them, and they go for it. And I really want to encourage everyone who's still here much. Share the link tomorrow.
Sorry, did you say
great they are. See you all later. Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, sorry. Did you say the link's in the chat? I can't see it. Is it where it says, is it just the link that you've sent? Sorry. Sorry, can you hear me? You're on mute, Kabir. Right.
Justin, did you catch that?
The link's in the chat. It's been posted. I just posted it again, and Brian's just posted it.
Yeah, I think the lady was asking.
Sorry, just seen it. Thank you. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it, guys. Even though I'm a woman, but the advice also, I'm gonna take it on as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thank
All
you,
the
guys.
best.
That's brilliant. Excellent stuff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Kabir and everyone. Take care.
Thanks, Kabir. See you later, Godfrey.
Yeah.
Take care.
See you later,
Bye.
boys.
Thank you, bro.
Bye, yeah.